Hello, and welcome to the Argyle CISO Leadership Forum. My name is Nick with Argyle, and it's great to have everyone joining us today. A couple of notes before I turn things over to our esteemed speaker. First, a quick reminder to stop by our sponsor's virtual booth at any time during today's event and for the following week. Our partners are committed to providing you with valuable content and a great overall experience. At any time during today's event, you can visit their virtual booth from the main agenda page, which include complimentary materials, information, and meet and greet opportunities. To ask questions throughout the session, simply type into the Q&A chat, and we will address your questions at the end of the session. Now, without further delay, I would like to introduce our speaker, Petri Quivala, CISO Advisor, Hoxhunt. We're excited to have Petri with us for a thought leadership presentation titled From War Story to Human Intrusion Detection. Welcome, Petri. Over to you.
Thanks, Nick. Good to be here. And hello, everyone from the sunny Helsinki. Let's move on. First, quickly about kind of my background. I was the first CISO for the Nokia. It was the year 2009. For the last 9 years, I was establishing the CISO function for the NXP semiconductors. I've been also working with the Microsoft, Qualcomm, and a few other large companies. Today's presentation is more about first starting about the one real case that I've been living through, evicting the nation state attackers, but there is other interesting experiences, obviously, underneath of my belt as well. Hoxhunt, which is the sponsor of this presentation, they are on the mission of reducing the human risk. And they do it in a very positive way, a gamified way, which leads into a conversion of those people who are kind of getting the training into a kind of crowdsourced intrusion detection devices, or not devices actually, but the human beings who are just reporting. You will learn more about it later. So directly into the nation state Panda, a case from my past. You see the timeline right away. I obviously didn't have a clue. It was one Saturday afternoon when the Google Outreach gave me an email. There was a short email, one-liner, saying that there is odd traffic coming out of your network, Google Outreach. Alrighty, what does that mean? And is it really a Google in the first place? I used at least 15 to 20 minutes of using my old police skills. I used to be a kind of police detective long ago, and tried to understand if this mail is real, and real it was actually. And sent a short message back to them that, yes, please, deliver me more information. That was the point when the kind of interaction started between us. And on this slide, it is not just a pretty slide, but you can see that there is a 2.5 years timeline and 11 dots on the timeline, highlighting how the nation states, when they are kind of attacking, they are using the low and slow strategies. They can use months in the between of interacting with the target, and they don't have any hurry of getting anywhere. In this specific case, it all started from a merger acquisition announcement, where on the next day after the announcement, the guys from the other side were penetrating our network. Then they kept several months silence there, and only when there was kind of news media speculation about the merger and acquisition, they started to do more and more discovery and getting deeper into the systems. But as said, I didn't know anything about it when this started, obviously. I guess it's quite usual story, but it's still something that is worthwhile of telling. So it almost always starts with phishing email. In this case, phishing mail for 4 people, and one of them gave his password. Verizon said in its DPR report that it's about 35% of the cases that starts with the phishing, whereas Splunk says 91%. I guess the truth is somewhere in between. In our case, we had a kind of bad coincidence of having a temporarily misconfigured VPN of not requiring the 2FA. And that obviously made the attacker's way into the company much more easier. But for sure, you know that it's also possible of getting into the company even if you would have 2FA on all the time. You just send the kind of URL link and install the backdoor the other way than installing it yourself. So in this case, the attackers obviously took the VPN connection with the employee account, and then they started to install the backdoors into the servers. When they went to servers, they were starting to jump around and doing the lateral movement within the company with the employee accounts, harvesting obviously simultaneously the legacy weakness password hashes. And even if we had 25 character long admin password, it was opened in 91 seconds. 91 seconds for the reason that we had to be a kind of backward compatible with a lot of old encryption algorithms and standards, and that obviously is related to the fact that if company has lots of applications, they are not always modernized, and the legacy is really one of your biggest weaknesses or challenges. Once they had kind of browsed around and did the lateral movement, they happened to found the AD admin's password hash, and I said 91 seconds, and they were capable of opening it. And then of course the rest is history. They were capable of collecting material, and they were most probably or possibly capable of delivering it outside of the company. Why am I saying possibly? Is the reason for that is that the guys started to use encryption protection for the network connectivity at some stage. In the beginning, they actually didn't do that. This is, on my opinion, a much more interesting timeline from the corporate employee point of view. What does it happen, and what does it mean when you have a kind of intrusion? As said, we had the alert here, and the next thing on the next Monday morning was actually the do we investigate? Sounds like a kind of obvious thing, but at that stage, the only thing that you know is that there is traffic going out from your network. It just could be a bot that is communicating with someone. And some of my team members were actually saying that, hey, let's treat this like a kind of regular virus case. What the hell are we even bothering with? Let's continue our life. But I didn't agree on that. I knew that it's going to be tough times, and tough times it really was. So after that, obviously, there was a next question that, so do we block the attackers? Sounds, again, obvious, but if you block all of those kind of connections that you have seen so far, how are you certain that you are seeing everything at that stage? After 2 days of the initial information, we knew like 5 connections, but how do you know if 5 is all the connections that there is? And of course it was not. So we made a decision that we block 2 or 3 of them, but we leave some of them open so that the other side actually could feel that we have not found all of that, enabling them to continue believing that some of the activities have been kind of detected, but not all of that. The next decision was that, so who do we choose? We had the conversations with the insurance company, having the cyber insurance, obviously. The next conversations were around kind of, do we take back in control of our domains, which is obviously something that you have to do, even if it's not necessarily effective at that stage when you have not yet rebuilt it and made it really secure. The main thing is, of course, that you need to also show to the markets that you have done everything that there is to limit the problems or limit the damages. In case if it would go public and you would not have taken these sort of steps, you would be quite vulnerable for the public speculations. There were lots of other kind of conversations that we went through, but let me skip them mostly. But after 6 weeks, somewhere in here, we knew what actually had happened. And we had consumed that point of time approximately 1 million. And since that point, or actually since the beginning, it took until the June, it was 26 weeks when we had actually rebuilt the whole tier 0 system landscape ground up while keeping the company running. And the eviction was done perfectly. I believe that it was done perfectly. That cost obviously yet another 2 million. The next thing, or actually something that we started to already prepare in February, was the strategic action planning, so that things would not ever repeat themselves, meaning that you need to kind of build excellent execution plan for cybersecurity program consuming about 10 million a year or so, and executing it flawlessly, reporting to the board, keeping the upper management constantly happy. Quite stressful times, but interesting at the same time. The main question that I want to, and main thing that I want to radiate today in this presentation is that if I would be CISO now in another company, what would I do? What did I learn? I would make sure that there's 4 things that are done next to the perfectly. I would make sure that there's a kind of excellent capability with your employees of detecting the phishing attacks and the human risk related topics, so that they would be actively reporting those to the SOC, so the SOC would actually have time to concentrate to the other work, concentrate to the protecting the tier 0 systems, which are, in my opinion, the last fortress that should never be penetrated for. The SOC teams should have much more time of focusing to this area. They should be doing the red, purple, and blue teaming around those areas. But if you are kind of constantly bothered by the noise caused by the all sort of phishing attacks and so on, you will not have the time. I would, of course, put quite a lot of my money into the implementing 2FA flawlessly everywhere, at least to all of those applications that are kind of gateways to your company. And of course, the external vulnerabilities, nothing new over there. But those would be kind of my first bets. Beyond of that, there is, of course, plenty of things. But if you select all of the things that you could do, you will not most probably achieve anything. So what would be the secret sauce of making the people your IDS, or intrusion detection systems? There is kind of 4 steps to that, and obviously the solution that is sponsoring us today is capable of delivering this stuff. So one of the main, very fundamental capabilities that you are capable of delivering individualized learnings to your people. If you have a newcomer in your company, you shouldn't send him the most difficult exercise immediately. But if you have someone who has been there already for a longer time, 11 months or more, you shouldn't bother them with the same old DHL package. You need to know how to treat everyone as an individual. It is not related only to the time that you have spent with the company. It relates to your organizational position, your role, what sort of exercises or simulations should you be going through, and it relates to the your success during the last exercises. If for example, for the last 3 exercises you have been going through with flying colors, no problems at all, you need to be challenged more. But if you have been having troubles with your last exercises, the bar should be lowered so that you are not getting frustrated. And then this is a way how you really keep the people engaged over the longer time. Engagement is a good word when moving to this slide here. Repetition is obviously the mother of all learning. And measuring is something that we then see that the learning is really taking place. In this graph here, it is not just eye graph, it is or eye candy, it is actually a real graph from our data, where over the 4 years time, 140 simulations for everyone participating here, i.e. about 36 exercises a year, is delivered. And as you can see, right from the quite beginning, the success rate is getting close to the 60%. But at the end of the day, even after 4 years, it is growing more than 80% or so. Simultaneously, the miss rate, which many people think is a kind of successful outcome as well, is declining. On my opinion, miss rate is absolutely not success. If you keep on missing these sort of exercises, it means that you are wild card. Next time when you are going to get a attack in front of you, you really don't know how these guys will be kind of acting. And the last thing that I want to mention here is about the fail rate. Failure is something that should be celebrated. If you are not failing at all, the exercises are too easy. And if you are measuring only for the fail rate and reporting that to the upper management, you most probably are biased of serving way too easy exercises for you people who are not going to be developing those people at all. And that means that your success rate is not actually increasing like it is increasing in here. So really important to measure actually about the success rate instead of fail rate. Part of the recipe is also that it needs to be fun. It needs to be positive even during the difficult times. This is based of the Stanford University Behavior Labs founder, BJ Fogg, and his studies. He has been extensively studying that how do you change the human behavior. And one of the main things is that you always celebrate when you succeed. When you are celebrating, you are kind of launching neurochemicals, which are enabling you to form new habits because you remember those moments much better. Some people do remember the negative feedback as well, but mostly it causes kind of rebelling and this sort of attitudes that you don't really want to introduce into your workplace. The fourth part is constant feedback. Not feedback only in a game, but also when you are kind of reporting a real threat. This is a kind of screenshot from our report to an employee who has been just reporting a real attack that ended up into his email box. Based on our calculations, about 1 to 3% of the mails or attacks are actually getting through the filtering technologies, ending up into the end users' email boxes. And another two interesting figures is seen in here. So when you start training your people after 12 months, about 60% of those people have already been reporting a real attack, not just a simulation, but a real attack in the inbox. And next to that, 1.53 is a number of attacks every employee on our based on our numbers is actually getting through on annual basis. So if you have 10,000 employees, you have about 15,000 real attacks coming to your inboxes. Did you know about it? I don't know. All of this is captured then in a reporting where you have kind of this easy to understand Hoxham's security score or the human risk reduction score, 74 in this case. Just something easy to understand and something where you are kind of compared against your peer companies in the same platform. It is built from the kind of components of the culture and engagement, competencies, real threat detections, and so on. So that and you're capable of kind of diving into each and every category. On the right-hand side, you see kind of one deeper dive from the country axis, or you could do obviously department axis or site axis as well. And in here, you can see that it's much more easier than for the CISO team or whoever is after the improvements to find that where to concentrate and what to do to get the numbers better so that you are capable of reporting up to the management good numbers. Capturing this presentation already. So I said 60% 2 slides ago, and now I'm saying 20%. No, the 20% is actually the number of the sophisticated attacks. 60% of the people are reporting the kind of some sort of attacks, but 20% of them are really kind of sophisticated. We see that this sort of the sophistication of the email attacks are coming more and more better all the time. It is getting more and more individualized, which obviously means that you need to have individualized learning yourself. Another interesting number is 55 seconds. It's about 55 to 61 seconds that the best 5% of our trained employees, about 2 million of them, is reporting any and every real attack. Extremely important number, because this year Microsoft reported that it takes in average 72 minutes for attackers to start the lateral movement right after they have been gaining their first foothold. On year 2018, this was not 72 minutes. It was still, we were talking about multiple days. So if the other side is getting faster, we need to get faster as well. Getting faster is not the only thing. You need to get more accurate. You need to get kind of into the level where one of our customers, Avanade, was capable of getting. They were getting 154 cases a day into their SOC, but after implementing our solution, they were capable of reducing that to the 6, releasing actually 5 FTEs to the other jobs. As my last slide, the conclusion. You need to have really good focus to enable real strategic execution. I believe that human ideas is one of the underutilized and very cheap way of increasing your resilience and your protection against the evil. And among all, it's also really important that you build a positive brand for your CISO team with the positive mindset, with the gaming, with giving the positive feedback. That actually usually brings in the compound effect where people start to help you. Thanks. That's my presentation. Open for any questions.
Great. Excellent, Petri. Yeah, we have a few questions from the audience. Where do you think CISOs make the greatest mistakes or face the biggest challenge when it comes to intrusion detection?
No, that's a good one. There is quite many mistakes or quite many loopholes. I've been implementing the CMs and this IDS systems all together many times, and I think that one of the things that we could easily speak about is that the upper management thinks that when you are bringing in the CMs and SOARs and so on, that you can cover almost anything and everything within your landscape, which is as far from truth as it can be. I guess the biggest problem is that CISOs are trying to get as broad as possible kind of coverage for the IDS systems and the use cases, where as I believe from my past, that you should be focusing actually around your tier 0 when you are talking about the IDS. When you're talking about your human IDS, that's another story that I just kind of elaborated quite extensively.
Okay, great. And here's another question from the audience.
Yeah.
Oops, lost the chat there for a second.
Yeah.
Hold on now. Let me find it again.
Yeah.
What was the biggest lesson you learned, and how do you think that translates to current threat mitigation tactics?
Yeah, the biggest lesson that I learned is what I'm always saying to everyone: focus, focus, focus. That relates to the previous answer as well. And my strategy with this company where I was working for was really to focus around the tier 0, the AD and its systems, making that system like the Fort Rest, Fort Knox or whatsoever, and to purchase time for that, then getting the noise away from the network. So remove the noise with the means that you can have, but then when you have removed the noise, focus to the tier 0. If you look into any ransomware case, all the severe ones are results of someone getting access to your tier 0.
Okay, great. And what are your thoughts on organizations overreacting on actual cybersecurity related needs?
Overreacting. Yeah, I'm not sure if I have seen too many overreactions, but of course, when you are leading this sort of exercise, as I described to you in the beginning of the slide deck, the upper management is of course always overreacting at that stage. And my only comment to that would be that there's two types of CISOs in that moment. There are the CISOs who will be fired because they don't have a good story, they are not prepared, and then there are CISOs who are prepared and who can tell a kind of credible story without blaming the upper management, and constructively capable of helping them to understand, lower down some of the panic mode kind of reactions. So my only kind of advice to the people would be that almost never you have all the money that you need when it's the peace times, but during the peace times you should have the plan for the war. If you don't have the plan for the war during the peace times, you are going to have shit in your pants.
All right. Here's another question. What tools or processes do you think will be game changers for cybersecurity in the coming months?
Game changer is something that I don't believe that there is. I've been in the industry for 30 years now, and when I'm looking into the today's situation, we are speculating a lot about the AI and that capabilities. AI is just yet another kind of cat and mouse game where we are constantly both sides are utilizing it. On the Hox Hunt's case, what I just presented to you, AI is obviously used for doing the individualization of the trainings, and also in case of the detection, where I kind of at the end listed that Avanade was capable of moving from 154 to 6. There, the AI is going to be your best kind of helper. Simultaneously, the other side is going to find ChatGPT or whatever generative AI there to help them. So the cat and mouse game continues, on my opinion, like it has continued for the last 30 years.
Great. And do you think that AI automation will change cybersecurity in terms of better processes, and how?
It can change. I think that AI is going to kind of deliver us humans with hormone or kind of increased steroids or so. So in the past, we have had our own brains and the brains of our close ones who are close to us. But with the help of AI, we are capable of harnessing much better, actually, the much more wider knowledge into our use. So if the security teams and CISO teams are really good in using the AI into their advantage, they can for sure standardize lots of the pain points that they have currently with their landscape, especially from the processes point of view. So I think that that's going to be one of the great kind of advantages from the AI side.
Great. And another question here. So, in a nutshell, what's the secret sauce for human risk reduction?
I would say that it starts from the positivity. It starts from the psychological safety. You are never capable of making humans in a stage where they are not making any mistakes or flaws. So you must make your system redundant. For example, in a sense that if one employee fails, but there is already kind of plenty of well-trained people who are awake today and reporting the same case that someone falls, that then gives, for example, in this example, after 55 seconds, the alert to the SOC, who is then capable of kind of reacting. So engage your people's wisdom and crowdsource their brains is, on my opinion, the real secret sauce. I believe that Hox Hunt has been capable of doing that with the phishing. The next battles are going to be in the other fronts. So the story of the human risk reduction has been just starting.
Great. And do you have anything to add, Petri? I think those are all the audience questions so far. Do you want to add anything else to that?
Excellent questions, by the way. Thanks for all of those. I don't think that I have a lot to kind of add in here. It is not that very interactive for me at this stage, but I would wish for all of you to kind of think about what I said. And if there is anything where you or your CISOs, for example, would like to have a word with me, I'm totally happy of facilitating it. Send me a kind of LinkedIn note and make a reminder that you met me kind of in the Argyle forum.
Great. Well, thanks again, Petri, for such an incredible thought leadership session. I also want to thank everyone else for joining us today. This session, along with all of today's content, will be available on demand following the event.